Our next guest is a former NFL draft pick of the San Francisco 49ers and the Cougar quarterback who won LaVell Edwards' final game. Our pleasure to welcome back our friend Brandon Doman to the Wise Guys. Brandon, thank you for being here. It's always good to see you. Hey, there you are.
There you go. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're good. This is live stream around the world, so this is how this goes. What do you think of Matt Bushman wrapping up his career? How good was he?
He was a great player. I mean, Matt, I think should be very proud of the opportunity he's had and the career that he's had. And you look at who he's had the opportunity to play for in the NFL. Unusual opportunity. I hope he leverages everything that's happened and is able to parlay it into a great future.
Coach, how were you? Oh, sorry. How were you able to make that transition? Because it looked like when we were talking to Matt that he was, definitely ready to close the chapter, but
it's fresh.
He still had a little bit of, I guess hope or
like I could still do it.
I could still do it. Yeah. So how was that transition for you? And what did you go through, and what were some of the things that helped you out to close that chapter completely?
I would not have closed the chapter had I not had the opportunity to come back to BYU and coach. I was in my third season playing. I had my third credited season. I needed 3 more games in the NFL to get fully vested. I wasn't ready to be finished. I was going to have to go to NFL Europe and play over there in Europe. But in those, 20 years ago, that was very common. A lot of quarterbacks went over there and had some success. Got some reps. I hadn't had live reps for 3 years, so I was anxious to do that. So long story short is when Bronco flew out to San Francisco and met with me and offered me the job to come back and coach, I knew that I was going to be very much involved with football and the competitive juices of being able to, be around football and be with guys that I was only, 5 years older than. I think would more than and be very much adequate in enabling me to have my competitive juices satisfied, and it did. It was phenomenal to be able to go into football. So for guys that are walking away completely, I think it's a little bit harder decision to hang up the cleats completely, because I just didn't feel like I was hanging the cleats up. I got to go be around guys like you, Brian, and it was awesome.
Well, let's talk about putting the cleats on. You get, and I saw you, by the way, in the alumni game. You still have it, so I think we made that perfectly clear with showing your deep ball threats.
Jake Heaps came up to me at the end of the first half, right, when you tried me, Coach. Jake Heaps came up to me and he was like, it's weird because he's your coach. He was your coach. He was on your staff.
Now he's attacking.
I don't understand why he knows better.
He's got the scouting report.
I know, Brian. I was trying so hard to get at you right there. I came at you 3 times in a row and you won, man. Yeah. You deserve the trophy.
Hey, sometimes we get important phone calls in our life that are game changers, and you got a phone call from the 49ers in the 5th round of the NFL draft in 2022. Will you ever forget that moment when you're talking to a potential coach on the other side who's saying, hey, we're signing you, we're drafting you?
Yeah. My phone call was with Steve Mariucci. He was somebody that I was such a big 49er fan. Steve Young had just finished, and I was such a rabid fan of those guys. And the fact that the 49ers picked me, when the 49ers came up on the ticket and it was their turn to pick, I knew they had 3 rostered quarterbacks. They had come out and had done a workout with me. I just didn't think they were going to pick a quarterback. So I actually got up and left the room and went into the kitchen and was grabbing some food. And my family erupted, and I thought, man, those losers are playing a trick on me. And they kept cheering. I walked in there, and sure enough, there was my name across the bottom of the screen. And then Steve Mariucci called. It's pretty unbelievable experience to have those guys in any NFL team call you on the phone and tell you they've selected you. It was a dream come true. Unbelievable experience, unbelievable opportunity that I'll never take for granted. so grateful to the 49ers for giving me that opportunity, and to be able to be, an alumni of the NFL has had an impact on my life. I'm grateful for that.
Coach, let's rewind a little bit and go back to when you played at college or in high school, from Skyline High, and getting the same phone call from LaVell Edwards offering you a scholarship. How does that compare?
Well, honestly, that's all I ever wanted. I don't know that I grew up with aspirations to play in the NFL. I know a lot of young kids do, but I had 3 older brothers that played at BYU. I'd grown up going to every football game since the time I can remember. And that's what I wanted. So when Coach Edwards offered me the scholarship to come to BYU, it was pretty magical as well. I don't, sometimes I pinch myself and wonder, why in the world did I get to do this? And I feel like I was given some pretty unbelievable gifts in my life, not gifts to play, but just, wrapped up gifts that others gave me to have the opportunity to go to BYU and go play in the NFL. LaVell Edwards is one of the world's greatest. And to have had the opportunity to play for him and have him extend that was pretty unbelievable opportunity.
Not many get those 2 calls.
Right.
That's classic. Hey, speaking of phone calls, Zach Wilson got a call today being traded from the Jets to the Broncos. What do you think of that move? And what advice do you have for Zach as he settles into a second opportunity?
I love the opportunity for him to be with the Broncos. I think that Sean Payton, while he's had a rocky start there, I think is unusual in his ability to coach quarterbacks. I think he's really one of the best minds in the game. And to have the opportunity to be in that setting, I think is really unique. Zach had last year going into his season, or 2 years ago going in, had his quarterback coach get in a biking accident and pass away. His name was Greg Knapp.
Yeah.
And I played for Greg Knapp. And I look back at Zach's career, and that may have been one of the single most tragic things that transpired for Zach, let alone, Greg Knapp and his family. Because I think he was in a position to be really tutored well. And I'm not so certain he has. I know he had Aaron Rodgers there with him, but it's different when you've got a coach that's completely vested in you and a team that is selected you and wants you there. So I think he's going to get a unique opportunity. It'll be a great thing, and it's nice to be close to home. Denver's close by, and I just think it'll be a good thing for him to get out of the East Coast and come into the Rocky Mountains and play football again. So I think it's a major win for him.
Brandon Doman's on the Wise Guys tonight, quarterback BYU to a 12-0 start in 2001 before getting drafted by the 49ers in the 5th round. Later returned to BYU as the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach. Now, as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, ordinary members of the church are asked to serve in various capacities. Describe your current assignment.
So 3 years ago, I was given the assignment and opportunity to serve as the stake president of the Alpine Young Single Adult Stake, which encompasses all of the young adults that live within the cities of Alpine, Highland, Cedar Hills, Pleasant Grove, and Linden. And there's probably roughly 8,000 young adults that live in that area. And about 2,400 of those young adults attend our stake. So we have 10 YSA wards, 9 English speaking, 1 Spanish speaking. And it has been such I know I keep saying this about football, but this has been equally as great, if not better, to have the opportunity to serve with these young adults and to have the opportunity to rub my shoulders with some of the people I get to rub my shoulders with, particularly these young adults, has been a remarkable opportunity. It's only a 5-year calling, so I only have 2 years remaining in this assignment, and so grateful for it.
You're in the second half. You're right. It's halftime's over. It's second half. You look back.
Third quarter.
These athletic achievements that you've done, how have they prepared you to be a positive influence in the lives of these young people?
Well, I've learned a lot about getting knocked down and having to get back up, and the adversity of working hard and managing expectations. Facing trials and having a vision for what you want to accomplish and preparing yourself for the opportunities at hand. And I've learned that if preparation meets opportunity, it equals success. And they're at an age right now where they are making significant decisions. They're preparing for significant opportunities. And they're having to overcome trials and challenges that the world has never seen before. And they have so much courage and bravery. They exercise so much faith. It's just been a remarkable thing to watch. But I do think that you know the experiences that my life has provided me is given me a perspective I think that's helpful in guiding and leading these young single adults. But not the most important. They just want somebody that they can look to, that they can trust, and somebody that they know believes and that they can trust will help them get where they help them accomplish the things they want to. And I'm probably the biggest beneficiary of this whole experience, far more than them. And what a blessing.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because there's no better feeling in the world as an athlete, especially an athlete that plays defense at BYU that runs pursuits, and then going out and performing on Saturdays and coming home with a win or coming home with an interception. You've had big plays in your career and scored a lot of touchdowns and been a part of some great programs in the past, but the feeling of helping kids to turn their life around or provide them with wisdom that's going to accelerate their lives in so many different positive ways, it's a different type of feeling, and so compare that feeling of helping somebody versus scoring maybe a game-winning touchdown.
Well, Brian, and I know you well, and so I know the kind of person that you are, the kind of man that you are, and my belief in God and my faith in a Savior, Jesus Christ, and the importance of that in my life. I've just come to realize that all things are possible through them, and the miracles that we see, the miracles that transpire and happen in our own lives aren't mistakes. They're representative of our willingness to fulfill our commitments, and people that are willing to do the work that you guys did on defense, and all that went into just the preparation to walk out on the field was significant. And I think it's the same in our faith, in our belief spiritually, that if we're willing to do the things that we know we're supposed to do and put the work in, we've been taught and we know that we should be seeking for and expecting miracles in our lives. And it's been so fun to see these young adults prepare themselves and put themselves in a position where they're experiencing miracles and the successes. So you experience that as a player, and it's the exact same. The formula is no different. And whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the formulas are the same. We just happen to have, spiritual support from every direction to help us, and I'm so grateful for that.
I think you were prepared for this in many ways. As a quarterback coach, you got a quarterback out there, throws an interception. Now he's coming to the sideline, and he's got to talk to you about it. And you're going to try to help him learn so that he doesn't go back out there and do it again. But as these young folks come and visit with you, as they often do, where do you start with that? And what are the challenges of today's single adults? And there's so many everywhere, but when they sit down with you and you pinpoint, what are their biggest challenges today?
Well, let me start. You made me think of an experience, and I think it directly correlates into these young adults. My very first, I should say this, my second start in college football. was at the University of Utah in LaVell Edwards' last football game. And my very first throw of the game was an interception for a touchdown. A guy by the name of Andre Dyson intercepted my pass and ran it back for a touchdown. And I came walking, I kind of jogged off the field thinking, well, that was kind of one and done. I'm probably going to put someone else in the game. And I'll never forget running past Coach Edwards on the field. The expression on his face didn't change. He didn't get mad at me. He didn't yell at me. He didn't rebuke me for anything that happened. He just, go get a drink and get back out there, was the mentality. We don't have time to fret and to worry. He had, whether he believed I could do it or not, I believed, my impression is that he believed I could still do it. And so I, ran off the field, collected myself, and went back out there. And because of the unique challenges that they face, I'm so grateful for forgiveness. I'm grateful. The compassion that I have, and I had compassion as a quarterback coach because I knew what these quarterbacks were going through. I knew what they were experiencing. I knew what was happening in the ups and the downs. And I think it helped me as a quarterback coach because I could have true compassion and understanding. And I'm no different than these young single adults. I have compassion for them because I understand. I've been through my own challenges and I have my own weaknesses, and I'm grateful when I see them come in with courage and bravery to put the past behind them and move forward and take care of the things that they need to take care of so that they can, feel as though they've been forgiven and in a position before their Father in heaven where they can move forward with faith. And that takes a ton of bravery and courage. And so, you look at a world where there are so many narratives being created around single topics, and this relative truth around certain topics and the perception of what might be true. And it's so confusing, and it creates such a vacuum that sucks them in, and they become so isolated from truth. And it's really hard for them to identify that in their lives. And so the temptations of the world cause them to make decisions that they just normally wouldn't make had they not, spiraled out of control in some cases. And so having an understanding and a faith and a compassion for what they're dealing with, and then helping guide them and lead them to truth so that they can know and identify, divine truth in their lives, has been such a fun, unique experience. And I look at all of them that I've had the opportunity to know, and I'm not the same person because of them. They've increased my own faith in just forgiveness and repentance, and they want to know that there's a safe place for them to go. There truly is safety in the harbor, and I think for young single adults today, if we don't create safety in the harbor and real divine truth for them, we just create more confusion. And I hope that we don't. I hope and believe that we're doing a pretty good job, giving them that direction.
The next time you're in an interview, whether it's a young man or a young woman, and they start with, "Hey, remember when you threw that interception against the Utes?"
Exactly right.
Just know that's where they want your mind. And I just think you're a great example for all that's good that you can get out of sports to prepare you for life. And Belo's got a basketball question about another guy who's coming in to BYU to make a difference.
Yeah, so with I'm pretty sure you've heard of the news of Kevin Young, who just got the call to leave the Suns and come to BYU as the new head coach for basketball. What do you think of the hire? And to give you a little bit of background, I said earlier in the show that I was excited, and then I was also frustrated because I've always just known BYU to not have the funds to. Well, I always say BYU is the richest university in the world. As far as them allocating, funds to sports, not so much. So I was like, this whole time we just had $30 million sitting there. We could have used this a while ago.
I told you it was Big 12
I know.
money.
I still can't get over it. But anyway, how does that hire? What do you think of it?
Well, you said a few things there, but let me just say this about the hire. I think it's one of the best hires I've seen BYU acquire, maybe ever. And here's why: he's young. He has a ton of experience. College athletics is a developmental league and in a developmental environment. And he's had experience in I think 8 seasons in the D League and the NBA, which is the epitome of development. They're sending players into that environment to develop them and give them opportunities to continue to improve. And he had to become really good at developing players. And an assistant coach, your primary responsibility in the NBA or NFL in that setting is to create position mastery and skill development around the game of basketball. And not only was he around great coaches and great players, but he also had and was able to learn from them. But he clearly rose to the occasion as an assistant basketball coach, and becoming one of the highest paid assistant coaches. He's clearly a skill development coach. He clearly understands developing players, and he's had experience as a head coach, and so he understands timeouts and game preparation and film prep, and I think that people are concerned about, well, he's not been in college, he's not been in the recruiting environment. The portal has changed everything, and he understands that. It's almost like the NBA now. So I think he's a great hire, and I think he's going to do a great job. As it relates to money, I'm grateful that BYU's in a position with boosters and others that have chosen to financially support the institution, and that they have access to a pool of funds to be able to recruit coaches to develop young men. And if we do it appropriately at BYU and we develop the players appropriately and we have the right men and women coaches to do it right, in some cases we're going to have to pay them a few $1 million a year or more. And I think we're all going to benefit, the players specifically, and the institution will benefit from those types of individuals. Otherwise, they're going to go elsewhere. And I would prefer they be at BYU, and I'm happy to see that BYU feels the same way.
Brandon Doman's here with us on the Wise Guys, and we love our visits with him. Last question, and let's go back to football. NCAA has approved the use of coach-to-player helmet communication and the 2-minute warning timeouts like the NFL for this fall. So as a former quarterback, an offensive coordinator, and quarterback coach, what impact will these rule changes have on the game when the Cougars take the field in August?
They'll make it better. Offenses will get better. Quarterbacks will play even at a higher level. It was pretty unbelievable to be standing out on the field and communicating with the players and be able to have the coach give you some last minute reminders of certain things you need to be looking at. So it enhances the coach's ability to prepare the players better and help them make better game time decisions. I just think it's going to make the game better. The players will play better. Offenses will be better. I know that the defensive guys don't necessarily want the defenses to get, but I think the defenses will get better. So it's altogether, I think, improving the product that's going to be put out on the field. I love the 2-minute timeout. It's an extra advantage towards the end of the game. The NFL utilizes it so well. You see unbelievable endings in the NFL. I think a 2-minute warning provides just a little extra time out there to create better endings. And I think college football will benefit from, more exciting finishes to football games like we see in the NFL.
As an offensive coordinator, how much would you have enjoyed being able to just talk to your quarterback out in the huddle? Like, hey, do this.
Oh, man. There were times, so many times where you felt like you had communicated to the quarterback when he needed to know, and unfortunately he understood it completely different. And you're like, shoot, we spent all this time. And I always knew as a football coach that if it didn't happen on the practice field, well, even back up, if it didn't happen in the meeting room, it wasn't going to happen on the practice field. And if it didn't happen in the practice field, it wasn't going to happen in the game on Saturday.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think this just gives you one more advantage to know that in the heat of the moment, if there's something missing here, I can communicate with him as he's preparing to come to the line of scrimmage. And like I said, it's just going to make football better.
Brandon, your first class, we love having you on the show. We look forward to our next visit. Appreciate all you do, whether you were on the field, in the booth, serving the young single adults here in the middle of Utah, and all the good things you got going with your business and family. Hey, the last time we were on, you were in the car coming home from golfing because one of your boys was about to head out on his mission. How's he doing?
He's doing great. My two oldest boys are on missions right now, both in Washington, and they're 40 miles from each other. One's in the Tacoma, Washington mission, which is the one I was golfing with, and then my other son is in the Vancouver, Washington mission, and he's up north. And so they're literally 40 miles away from each other, and they're doing great, having a fantastic experience. It's a beautiful place and an awesome people, and they really are having a great time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right. See you later.
Love you.
Brandon Doman, great quarterback, and it was a blast to watch play. He